Hey up guys, welcome to An Idiot Mod Skyrim Part 4, and there's no way around this guys, it's time to do some housekeeping. Before we go any further, and before I should have even started doing episode 1, we should have talked about backing up our saves. The easiest way to do it is to go along to the start menu, to documents, go into my games, and you'll see we have a folder here called Skyrim. If we double click to go into it, and my saves are in this folder here. Now you could just copy the saves folder and that would work fine. I prefer the backup the entire folder, so I also have the Skyrim Mini and the Skyrim Prefs in it backed up as well. As it's already highlighted, just right click on it, go down to copy. As you'll see, I have a folder called Save Backups. Click to highlight, then right click and paste it in. Go inside it, you'll see I have a Fallout 4 and a Skyrim backup. The Fallout 4 was done before I installed the beta patch back in November, as you'll see. Did a video about that at the time. Right, so now for the reason I have Nexus Mod Manager on my desktop. If we double click it, you'll see I have it set up to handle Fallout 4, State of Decay, The Witcher 2 and The Witcher 3. Unfortunately, because we have Mod Organizer set up to handle our downloads, if I go along to the Nexus and try and download something strange happens. Here we are on the Fallout 4 part of Nexus. I'm going to try and download this scavenged NCR armor. I go to download with manager and I get this warning. There is no application registered to handle this game. What we need to do is tell Mod Organizer to let Nexus Mod Manager handle the downloads for this particular game. So to do that, we need to go into wherever we installed Mod Organizer. So I have erased my version that was on C, so all you guys that have it on C, you know how to find it now. I'm going to go along and get it out of my games file and I'll see you there. So here we are inside Mod Organizer itself. As you can see, we're in Steam Library, Steam Apps, Common, Skyrim, Mod Organizer. We want to come down to the xnm handler.exe. We double click this, you'll see we get this window. Use this list to configure programs to handle Nexus Mod Manager links. Different programs can be set up to handle links for different games. If the game support is supported by multiple binaries, the top one is used. I can't see it being likely that we're going to use Nexus Mod Manager and Mod Organizer to handle Skyrim at the moment, so I think we would have to worry about this for the time being. However, I do need to tell it about having Nexus Mod Manager installed and telling it to handle certain games. To do that, right click anywhere where there's space on here and go to Add. Select supported games. Won't be Oblivion, won't be Fallout 3 or Fallout New Vegas or Skyrim. It's going to be Other. Not the ideal answer, but the only answer we can give out of this list. Now we need to select the binary, so we click on the box here. Mine defaulted to where my Nexus Mod Manager is. I don't know if this is normal. If not, you're going to have to find it. So if you didn't put it anywhere specific, it'll be on your C drive, probably in program files, x86 if you have a 64-bit system. What we want is the Nexus client.exe. Click to highlight and click open and then click OK. We'll now see we have Nexus Mod Manager handling others and Mod Organizer handling Skyrim. Now as I said, other is just a stopgap until we fill that in properly. So I'm going to make this full screen. I'm going to drag where it says binary across so we've got a bit more room because we're going to put a few games in here. So if I go back to Nexus, what I'm looking for is the bit just after nexus.com. So after the /, we want Fallout 4, and you need to copy this exactly as it is here. So the easiest way to do that is to click and drag all the way through, then right click on it, click copy, go back to our Nexus handler. Where it says other, if we double click, we can paste straight over that, so right click and paste. And then we're going to put a comma because we're going to put more games into this list. If I go back to my Nexus Mod Manager, you'll see it handles State of Decay as well, and Witcher 2 and Witcher 3. So let's go back to Nexus, go to the Nexus network, and we'll quickly find Witcher 3 on the front page. So we'll click on there. Once again, nexus.com / and we just want to drag through Witcher 3, right click, copy, back to Nexus handler, and then double click. Obviously we want to keep Fallout 4 there, and then we click paste again. So we now have Nexus Mod Manager handling Fallout 4 and Witcher 3. So I'll leave it at that for the time being, and I will click close. Now if I go back to the Fallout 4 Nexus and click download with Manager, it now goes to where it's supposed to go. Right, so now I've tidied up the stuff I should have done before. Let's get into Mod Organizer and do some work there. Right, so now we're in Mod Organizer. The first thing I'm going to do is create a profile for Magrios save. To do that, I go up to the Profile combo box. At the moment it has default in it. Click on it. In the menu that pops down, I'm going to click Manage. And there are two ways we can make our profiles. We can create or we can copy. Because Magrios uses all the mods that I have already installed here, with the exception of Blowing in the Wind, but he'll be having that from now on. If I click and highlight default and then click copy, this will clone the selected profile. So copy. I'm going to give him his name, so it's Magrios Runtclaw. And he uses two large overhaul. The first one is Percus Maximus, and that's Perma. And he also uses Skyrim Redone, well, elements of it. So that's Sky Re. I now know this is Magrios Runtclaw's profile, and he uses Perma and Sky Re. I just like doing this so I know what overhaul mods he uses. And then click OK. And I now have a default profile and my Magrios profile. I'm going to do something different this time. I'm going to create another profile. And because this one will not duplicate any of these mods, it will have them but it won't have them enabled, I'm going to call it Vanilla. And this is just so I can have a vanilla profile that won't have SKSE or anything else, and when I click on the combo box here and put Skyrim in there, or Skyrim Launcher, I can just run the vanilla game. It's just a way of running the game totally vanilla through Mod Organizer and seeing if it's a problem with the main game rather than something else that's causing crashes in mods. Not that I'm saying we're going to have crashes, it's just a nice thing to have in case we do. Because I don't want this to copy all the default settings, I will not check the default box, just leave it blank, click OK. We now have a totally vanilla profile. I'm going to do one more. I'm going to highlight default again. I'm going to copy, and this is for my Edward testing. So at the moment he's using all the mods that are there, and he has a few saves where he has no mods on him at all, so I can use those as reference points. So he's testing. I can now click OK. You may have noticed this box down here that says local save games. If I highlight Magrios and then check local save games, you'll notice that transfer saves is now accessible, and it says transfer save games to selected profile. We click it, you see this window opens up with transfer save games and the global characters. These are your saves on your hard drive. So Edward has a few, Magrios has several. The Prisoner and Ryu, well, Ryu's my daughter's game. I think the cloud must have backed it over here. If I highlight Magrios, I then have two options. I can move or I can copy his saves. If I move them, the only person that will have access to these saves will be Magrios. I will not be able to access these saves from any of the other profiles that we've just created. If I can select copy, it will move these across and leave them accessible to my other profiles. However, Magrios will not be able to access the other profiles, so it won't be able to access the Edward saves, the Prisoner or the Ryu saves. Because at the moment I'm still testing, I don't want to isolate my saves at all. So just for example, I'm going to move Magrios saves across. Do you want to copy the Magrios Runtclaw profile? Yes, I do. We now close this and this, and we have a look. Without changing the default from this bar, we go across to the saves. You'll see I only have access to the auto saves that are Edward's and the Prisoner and Ryu's saves. If I change the combo box to Magrios Runtclaw, all of his saves are now here, but no one else's. Because I'm still testing and I'm still trying to make sure that everything's working alright, I don't want to isolate this down, so we can reverse this process. Once again, we go to the combo box, go down to Manage, highlight Magria Runclaw again, and do not uncheck this box. Go to Transfer Saves. We now want to highlight Magria on the right hand side, and then we want to move all these saves back. Move all the saves to the global location. Yes, please. We can close this, and now we can uncheck the local save games. Do you want to delete the local save games? If you select no, the saves will show up again when you re-enable local save games. So I'm going to click no. You may have also noticed we have this automatic archive invalidation, and it says this ensures that data files from mods are actually used. You want to enable this unless you are using a different tool for archive invalidation. If we were using this for Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas or Oblivion, I would recommend that you click to highlight the character you are using and then check this box. However, Mod Organizer has a tool built in specifically for Skyrim that means we don't have to do this. And to show you how it works, first thing I need to do is actually go into my Skyrim game file. Go to the Start menu, to Computer, SSD Games F, Steam Library, Steam Apps, Common, Skyrim, and into the Data folder. Now what we're looking at is the BSA files. You'll notice that they are dated, well, the 9th of the 5th 2016. That's because I've just reinstalled all these to show you the effect that's about to happen. Don't worry about this date on these. Just notice that it is actually the 9th of the 5th 2016. What we're about to do is use a tool in Mod Organizer that will push these back in time. That may sound a little strange, but I have found something online that may help to explain why this is important. It's actually talking about Oblivion, but the same principle is still in use. Skyrim normally gets all its media assets, artwork, spoken dialogue, music, etc. from within a few large BSA files rather than in individual folders such as meshes, textures, etc. So those files I was just showing you, the BSAs, this is what it's on about. The original game and official plugins use these BSA files, which stands for Bethesda Software Archive. These BSA files are organised internally, just like your data folder is. Although fan-made mods are starting to use BSAs, actually quite a lot of them do really, most mods still place individual meshes textures into folders within your data directory. Well, Mod Organizer has it, but it's the same principle. This isn't a problem for new items added by a mod, but it can be a problem for some replacer mods that alter original game items. For example, the most popular mod types are armor retextures, landscape retextures, mods that improve the look of the game by replacing the original stock textures. Yeah, so like the map that we've used already. You with me so far? Normally this isn't a problem, since Skyrim is designed to automatically load any meshes, textures, etc. that it finds in your data folder, as long as the timestamp, or the modification date, on each of these files is more recent than the timestamp on the original BSA files. Since the BSA files are older, items in them get replaced by newer items with the same name that exist in your data folder. So the map that we've been using is in the Skyrim BSA file, and it's older than the one we're using, so it overwrites it because it's newer. However, in some cases this doesn't work correctly, and it now seems certain that this is caused by a bug in Oblivion's archive invalidation itself. Now what we're going to do in Mod Organizer is we're going to go into the settings, go across to the workarounds, and we're going to look at this here where it says backdate BSA. For Skyrim, this can be used instead of archive invalidation. It should make archive invalidation redundant for all profiles. For other games, this is not a suitable replacement for archive invalidation. So if I click this, I'm getting this warning even though I've removed my version of Mod Organizer that was on C. Click yes. Quick flash. If I now go back to my Skyrim folder, you should notice that things have changed. Let's just refresh it. And as you'll see, they've all been pushed back in time to the 1st of January 2000 at midnight. This should now mean that any mods that we have that are replacers will work because the timestamp on them should always be newer than the ones on these BSAs. Before we leave here, I just want to draw your attention to a particular type of file. As a matter of fact, I'll organise it by type so we can see them all together. It's here at the bottom where we have Dawnguard, Dragonborn, Hearthfire, Skyrim and Update are all ESM files. ESM stands for Elder Scroll Master, and these are the priority files for the game to load. They go into the plugins folder on Mod Organizer, but these are the files that a lot of mods will ask for. They will ask for a master. It will usually be Skyrim and maybe even the update. And if it uses Dragonborn, it will probably ask for the Dragonborn ESM or the Dawnguard ESM or maybe even Hearthfire's ESM. And these are usually highest priority, so they'll be at the top of the load order list. And talking of load orders, let's go along to loot. And this is a tool that will help us with our load order as we go along. It's the load order optimization tool, and it is built for Oblivion, Skyrim, Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas, which are the same games that Mod Organizer covers. It says setting the right load order for your mods is a crucial step in enjoying a stable modded game. The load order optimization tool, or loot, can help with that by providing automated load order sorting that's simple to use and fully customizable. While sorting, loot checks your load order errors, such as incompatibilities and missing requirements, and notifies you of any issues that it detects. It also provides thousands of plugin specific messages such as usage notes and bug warnings to help keep your game healthy. So we're going to download loot, so click on this button. As usual, you can have a read of here if you want, but I'm going to go straight down here to the lootinstaller.exe and click it. It will start downloading. It's not a large file, it's less than 25 meg. Once it's done, I'm going to click and show in folder. As it's already highlighted, right click on it and run as administrator. Click yes. I'm installing in English. Obviously if it's not your first language you may want to change it to something else. And next. As usual, we now get to choose where we put our loot installation. I don't like putting things like this on my C drive, I'd rather have it somewhere else. As a matter of fact, I actually have something on my hard disk that's called Game Tools. So I click Browse, go down to my HDD games, not my SSD games. You'll see I have a folder called Game Tools. I'll click to highlight it and click OK. So it's going to go into my Game Tools. Click Next. Setup will create the program shortcut in the following Start menu folder. To continue, click left. If you select a different folder, click Browse. Or, because I'm going to be using this through Mod Organizer, I don't even need a Start menu shortcut. So I can check that box and then click Next. And obviously I don't want a desktop icon because, as we said, we're going to be running it, and actually we have to run it through Mod Organizer. Click Next. As usual, leave everything here checked and click Finish. I would recommend that you read the loot readme at some point. Hopefully it will help with any problems you have. For the time being, I'm just going to go to the loot program itself. It's automatically detected Skyrim. If I click this little arrow here, it also detected Oblivion, Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas. If Skyrim is not recognised, you need to go back to Steam and run the launcher from there first, then close and reopen loot and it should detect Skyrim. If we look at the plugins on the left here, you'll notice that we have the Skyrim, Dawnguard, Dragonborn, Hearthfires and Update ESMs and the high-res texture ESPs, but there's no sign of the K ESP or the Finis ESP or even Blowing in the Wind. This is because without running it through Mod Organizer, it doesn't see the mods we've installed. We have to run it through Mod Organizer itself. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. Close this, go along to Mod Organizer. We're going to go to the Run combo box and click it. Go to Edit. I'm going to go into the title and click it and call it Loot. And now we need to find the binary. So click the box. Mine's auto defaulted to where it is. If not, it will be whichever drive you installed it in loot. You just want the loot exe. Click to highlight and click open. Before we're finished here, I'm going to go into the arguments and type --game equals and Skyrim, and make sure you put a capital S for Skyrim, because computers are stupid and it won't recognise it if it has a lowercase. Add it, and then we want to close. Now I'm going to go back into the combo box, come down to loot, and because it's something we're going to be running quite frequently, and as you know I'm a lazy person, I don't want to keep going into the combo box and finding it, I'm going to make a shortcut. So click on shortcut, stick it on my toolbar, and then I can change whatever is in here. Just one more thing before we run loot, and since we're housekeeping we might as well have a look at these little brooms. This says that this file is a dummy, it exists only so the BSA with the same name gets loaded. If you let Mod Organizer manage the archives you don't need this, enable the archive with the same name in the archive tab and disable the plugin. Now you may be wondering why we want to disable a plugin. The simple fact is that we have a finite number of plugins we can use. I believe the number is something around 255. 5 of them are taken up by the Elder Scrolls master files here, so the Skyrim ESM and the update. As you can see, they're greyed out, you have no option about those being on. The Dawnguard, the Hearthfires, the Dragonborn ESM, well obviously we're going to want those, but the high res textures, if we go into archives, are checked. We go back to plugins, uncheck these boxes, go back into archives. They're now in bold, but they are still checked. So they should now boot in. And we have saved ourselves 3 extra spaces. And Kate's anime pack is also one. And you'll see, when I'm talking about enable masters, you see, to have Kate we need to have the Skyrim ESM. So I can tick away Kate's anime as well. Let's have a look in the archives. And her BSA will still be loaded in. This now gives us extra room for more plugins, so we can pull more things into the game. It's not a limit on the amount of mods you can have, just the amount of plugins you can have. Let's run loot and see if our load order is okay. It has now recognised all the mods we have installed, even the ones that aren't checked. If we go along to this button here that says sort plugins and we click it, it will go away and it will check its master list and compare our mods to them. Once it's done, if we click apply, that will now set our load order for us in the plugins. We also have a few warnings here saying that your SKSE is up to date. It appears that you have For's new idle in Skyrim installed. Remember to run the generate finish for users. We've done all that, that's fine. See these warnings in yellow that I want to draw your attentions to, where it says contains 92 ITM records and 3 deleted references, and the Dawnguard has 619 identical to Master, and Hearthfires has 184, and even Dragonborn has some. Just letting you know now, we will at some point be using TS5 Edit to clean these files, but for the time being, let's just close loot, go into SKSE, and have a look and make sure our game is working, and how to handle warnings when we get them. Go to the Sleeping Giant Inn, because that's where Kate is. Yes, I want to load this game. And this is the typical warning you get when you may have removed something. This save relies on content that is no longer present. Some objects may no longer be available, continue loading. And the missing files are the high-res texture packs. Now we know that the high-res texture packs have loaded because the BSAs are still checked in Mod Organizer. Do not ignore these warnings. If it's something you've done like removing the ESPs but leaving the BSAs behind, then you're probably okay. However, if it's something more demanding, it may cause crashes to dash. So always read these and see what's missing. But for the time being, we can click yes. Hey Kate.
Oh, did you need something?
Yeah, can you follow me?
I prayed to Mara and she spoke to me in a dream. She said a stranger would appear to help me.
Well, I'd say the high-res texture packs are in. We have Kate. We have Ilya. Everything looks to be okay. Well, I think I've taken up enough of your time, guys. If this has been helpful, give me a like, write a comment, maybe even subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.